Hi everyone, I'm Prentis Rollins and welcome to lesson number 5 in my 10-part course on creating comics. In the last lesson we delved into the mysteries of light, shadow, and rendering, and in this lesson we're going to tackle drawing the human face and head. This is a huge subject. People all over the world have been drawing and painting the human face for thousands and thousands of years. In fact, in a very real sense, the human face is the subject of all art. We are fascinated with the human face and see it literally everywhere. There are centers in the brain that are hardwired and dedicated just to facial recognition. We read each other's emotions in our faces, and often we trust or distrust, like and dislike people just on the basis of how their faces look. So this is important stuff, and it's important that we get off to a good start when we're learning to draw faces and heads. As a comics artist, you want to have a very solid grounding in the rules of facial proportions, how big the parts of the face are relative to each other, and where they fall on the human head. So let's jump right in. In this demonstration, I'm going to be talking mainly about proportions and the basic architecture of the human face and head. Follow along if you want to. The beauty of watching this on your device is that you can pause it at any time and catch up. Or if you prefer, just watch. And I hope you enjoy this. Okay, everybody, so we're going to be drawing the human head. I use my ruler tool on my computer to create a circle. Now I'm going to turn this circle into a kind of an upside down oval or egg shape. The human head is basically, it's an egg shape. I'll show you what I mean. If I turn this upside down, you can see it's a pretty basic egg shape. Now I'm going to lay in some construction lines. Using my ruler tool. Humans have what's called bilateral symmetry. What that means is that the left side of the human face is a mirror reflection of the right side. We are split right down the midline, and we're symmetrical on either side of that midline. This line is exactly halfway down from the top of the skull to the bottom of the chin. And it is the eye line. That is to say, the eyes fall just about exactly halfway down from the top of the head to the bottom of the chin. Most people are kind of surprised to learn that. They tend to think that the eyes are higher up, but they aren't. This line, which is just about exactly halfway between the eye line and the bottom of the chin, is the nose line. That means the nose is going to fall right on it. And this line, which is just about 1/3 the way from the between the nose line and the bottom of the chin, is the mouth line. The mouth falls just about 1/3 the way between the bottom of the nose and the chin. Now I'm going to start, let's see. I mentioned before that when you're a comics artist, you tend to have a very rule-based system of doing art in order to enable you to work faster. You memorize a lot of rules about proportions and where things are, and that's what I'm showing you right now. Because you have to be able to draw these things quickly and out of your head, not looking at a model. So I'm going to start actually drawing these things in. This guy's some eyelashes. Now, one of the important rules of drawing human faces, I'll tell you right now, is what's called the 5-eye rule. 5-eye rule. What that means is the human head is generally about 5 eyes wide. You can divide it into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the eyes actually fall on the second and fourth positions of the eye line. Got one eye, two eyes, three eyes, four eyes, five eyes, and the eyes are on 2 and 4. It's very important. Keep drawing in the eyeballs now. Putting these two little white dots, one a little bit bigger than the other, in the eyeballs, and that's a quick way of indicating a shiny reflective surface, which is what the eyeballs are. Indicating the sides of the nostrils. Indicating the tip of the nose and the bottom of the nostrils. I'm going to put a little line here, kind of a thin, subtle line to indicate that the nose is projecting out and that it's got this lower plane. For the mouth, we've got a pretty simple bow shape. That. A couple little ticks out here to indicate the least hint of a smile. Slightly heavier line here to indicate lower lip. I might put in a light line to indicate upper lip. And this line that I'm putting in right there is, I'll show you, that's the philtrum. Everybody's got one. If you look in the mirror, you'll see it on yourself. I don't know what purpose it serves, if any, but there it is. Now, I'm going to give this guy a slight indication of the top eyelid. Maybe a slight indication lower eyelid. Maybe not so much. Might add a couple of little wrinkle lines to give him character. Let's give him some eyebrows. Just using these tick lines to indicate hair on the eyebrows. Other side too. I'm going to start to draw these ears from the front. When I do this guy in profile, side view, I'll talk more about the ears. Ears are a little tricky to draw. You have to just practice a lot looking at photographs or, yeah. The one thing I want to point out to you is that you'll notice that the ears are exactly level with the nose. Okay? The ears fall between the eye line and the nose line, just about exactly. So it's always easy to figure out where to put the ears on a character. Maybe I can draw cheekbones, an indication of cheekbones. Going in, swooping in from the ears inwards towards the area of the mouth. I'm going to give this jawline a bit more shape. Start to draw in the neck. The neck on a young man is pretty wide. It's about as wide, almost as wide as the skull, not quite. But a lot of beginning artists make the mistake of making the neck too thin. This is an indication of the clavicle, collarbone. And this is the pit of the neck, where the two clavicles meet up. I can put a couple of lines here to indicate the large muscle, the thick muscle cord on the neck that starts at the clavicle and wraps around. Okay. And I can indicate Adam's apple on a male character at least, not on a female. Put a little mark here to indicate the bottom of the chin. Now, let's start to give this guy some hair. It's the hairline I'm drawing in. It's going to give him a kind of basic, kind of spiky, wavy, hair treatment. And I can erase this skull line now. Make this a little closer. Quickly darken this in. use white ink to kind of indicate hair. Looking pretty good. Let me, in keeping with what we've learned about light and shadow, if I think that there's an overhead light source, I can just throw a shadow under his eye, kind of going a little bit across his bridge of his nose, continuing over to the other eye. I can throw a little shadow under the nose to indicate that it's jutting out. Maybe throw a little shadow under the lip, upper lip, and under this part of the chin. I can add a few rendering lines, just a few, to the cheekbones. Okay, it's a pretty handsome guy. And I might add just a little line there to indicate the side of the nose. So this is a pretty standard comic book character that I've drawn really quickly for you here. But the main thing I want you to remember from this lesson is the thing about proportions. Again, the human head is approximately, an egg shape. Okay, and it's bilaterally symmetrical, which again means that the two sides they mirror one another. The eye line is just about exactly halfway between the top of the head and the bottom of the chin. The nose line is just about halfway between the eye line and the bottom of the chin. The mouth line is just about a third the distance between the nose line and the bottom of the chin. And the ears fall exactly between the eye line and the nose line, so that you always know exactly where to put your ears when you're drawing a character from the front. By the way, the corners of the mouth, they tend to line up pretty closely with the pupils of the eyes, as you can see. And the nose is just about one eye wide. And remember, the head is 5 eyes wide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember, that's the 5-eye rule. Okay. Let's do a profile shot. Once again, I'm going to use my ruler tool to create a circle to start with. And now I'm going to start to make this into a more realistic skull shape. This is a very basic skull shape seen from the side. Now, as before, I'm going to put in some construction lines. I'm going to use my what I've just drawn in is the eye line. The eyes will fall on that line, and again, it's just about exactly halfway between the top of the head, bottom of the chin. So we know where the eye line is, and if you remember, the nose line is halfway between the eye line and bottom of the chin. The mouth line is 1/3 the distance between the nose line, bottom of the chin. Okay. Now I'm going to start to make this. Just draw in. Well, actually, let me do it. Do a preliminary sketch in blue. Okay, so I'm sketching in a more accurate profile. Eyes seen in profile have that same kind of almond shape, but they're just kind of shorter. But they still have that little shine effect. Might see a little indication of the inside tear duct. Nostril. Finishing the nostril. Oops. There's that little tick at the side. Indication of the upper eyelid, lower. Indication of eyelashes. I mainly put these on the upper eyelid. Neaten this up. There's that subtle thin line there to indicate the plane of the underside of the nose. Eyebrows, just lines to indicate hair. Now, I told you I was going to speak a little bit more about the ears. As I said, ears are kind of strange anatomical features. They seem kind of formless, like some kind of seashell, but they aren't. Like every other part of the human face and body, they have structure. And it's the same on everybody. If you look in the mirror, take a photograph of your own ear and look at it, you'll see that it looks approximately like what I'm doing right now. I'm putting in some shadow. Okay. But everybody's got this shape right in the middle of their ear. All of these parts have names. I'm not going to bother telling them. But they're all the same on everybody. Put in a little indication of those cheekbones. Okay, I'm going to start to sketch in this guy's neck. And again, here's that indication of the large muscle of the neck, which wraps around, which starts down here at the clavicle and wraps around the neck. And again, this is the Adam's apple. This lump right there, which is pretty prominent on men, but not on women. Women don't have it, actually. Now let me sketch in the hairline of this fellow. Okay. Again, I'm just giving him a very sort of generic comic book hairstyle, a little spiky. quickly darken this in. White ink to indicate hair. And again, in keeping with what we know about light and shadow, if I'm assuming there's a overhead light source, I can quickly throw a shadow under the eye, under the nose, upper lip. Again, some lines to accentuate the cheekbones. Maybe throw a little shadow under the ear and under the chin, jawline. So there we have it. There's a character in profile. Now this is pretty standard comic book style character with realistic proportions. Let me just recapitulate. From the side, the head is still, more or less a series of ovals. It's not quite an egg shape because you've seen it from the side. And the eye line, as before, halfway between the top of the skull and the bottom of the chin. Nose line is halfway between the eye line, bottom of the chin. Mouth line is a third the way between the nose line and the bottom of the chin. There we go. Let's wrap this up. I want to show you one last thing. It's an interesting difference between adults and children. When you're drawing children, the proportions are more or less the same, but a little different in some interesting ways. Let me just, the head or skull of a child is going to be a little bit wider, a little bit more rounded. The eye line is going to be, if anything, a little bit lower, okay? And the eyes are bigger on kids than on adult characters. It's an interesting fact of human physiology that when you're born, your eyes are already fully grown. Most people don't know this, and this is why babies appear to have such big eyes. They do have such big eyes. Big relative to the rest of their body. Your eyes are fully grown when you're born. So when you're drawing kids, you're going to give them bigger eyes and a smaller nose. And you're going to keep everything really simple. Remember what I said about when you're drawing faces, every line that you add adds age. Chin is definitely smaller, more rounded. Eyebrows a little thinner and more subtle. Ears probably a little bit bigger than they would be on an adult. The neck is going to be a little thinner. And there's no need to indicate cheekbones on a child. Keep the forms very simple and rounded. Okay. Well, everybody, that's our quick lightning demonstration of drawing the human head and face in front view and profile, and the differences between adults and children. I hope this has been helpful. Now, do you remember what I said in there about the faces of babies and kids? Their eyes are bigger. In fact, relatively speaking, they're huge. The faces I was just drawing were done in a realistic, fairly accurate to life manner. I think it's important to know the correct rules of facial proportions no matter what style you're working in. But we know that plenty of comic book artists and animators break the rules all the time. These are very well drawn anime characters. And what do they all have in common besides the fact that they all adhere to the basic anime style? Well, they are all cute. And a big part of the reason they're cute is because the facial proportions are those of babies. They are visually appealing because they mimic the facial proportions of babies and other cute things. Some of the comics artists that have influenced me the most are artists who draw in a semi-realistic or downright unrealistic manner. Chris Ware is an American graphic novelist. This is from his graphic novel, Jimmy Corrigan, the Smartest Kid on Earth. It's not realistic, but it's consistent, authentic, and quite beautiful. This is by the American comics artist Robert Crumb, who was hugely involved in getting the American underground comic scene going in the 1960s and 1970s. Crumb's drawing is ruled by emotion, and emotional effect always dictates the way Crumb draws. It overrides everything, especially the fine points of anatomical accuracy. And this is by the artist Joe Sacco, whose graphic novels are all rooted in history and real events. Sacco's drawing is hyper-detailed and highly researched and referenced, but his faces are generally open, inviting, semi-cartoonish, and very appealing. All three of these important comics artists have had a big influence on the way that I draw people and faces. It's important over time to find and study artists that appeal to you personally. Study them and try drawing in their style. Here's a series of self-portraits I did in the styles of various artists that I admire. This one is done in the style that comes most naturally to me. This one is in the style of Frank Miller, at least as he was drawing the famous Batman graphic novel, The Dark Knight Returns. I love this one. It's in the style of the British comics artist Dave Gibbons. And this one is in the wild, electric style of comics artist Jerry Shamray. We're about at the end of this lesson. This just sums up what I went over in the earlier demonstration. It shows the very basic construction rules for a male and a female face. You can pause this and revisit it later at your leisure. This just gives a slightly more detailed study of some of the more important parts of the face. You can also revisit it later if you wish. And this is all about the challenges of drawing children and old people, something I wish I had more time to go into. With kids, the eyes are bigger, and the nose and chin are smaller. Everything is more rounded and smooth. Fun fact, your eyes are fully grown at birth. They never get any bigger. That's why babies seem to have such big eyes. And with old people, everything is sagging. There's more lines, the nose and ears are bigger because gravity has been pulling them down so many years. And the eyes are smaller and drooping. I'm going to close this lesson with a quick demonstration of drawing a head and face from a 3/4 view. You'll see what I mean in a moment, and trust me, the lesson wouldn't be complete without it. Follow along if you want, or just watch and enjoy. Well, I have to confess, I have cheated once again, as you can see. I've done a quick sketch of this female character, so that I want to get this done in about 5 minutes. So this enables me to kind of relax a little bit and just draw it without worrying about it. But you can see what I mean by 3/4 view. It's not quite from the front. It's not quite from the side. It's a little bit of both. And it's important to practice doing these 3/4 views because they're more challenging in general, but they convey more information because you're getting information about what the face looks like from the front and from the side all at once. Because this is a female character, I'm going to give her fairly prominent eyelashes. Nostril, side of the nostril. It's our old friend, the philtrum, right there. Couple of highlights on the eyes, like I did before, to create the impression of shiny reflective surface. Indication of the upper eyelid. brows. Going in with white ink and adding some detail. Looking good. Upper lip. Make these lips a little bit fuller than on the male figure. I'm just adding these little rendering lines on the upper lip. Lower lip also a little bit fuller. Okay. The corner of the jaw, I'm making pretty smooth. Doesn't go like that when you're drawing a female character. It does a little bit more when you're drawing a male character. Features on women are generally softer, more rounded. Whoop. Indication of the cheekbone. The neck, which on a female character will generally be a little bit narrower than on a male character. Clavicle, collarbone, which I talked about before. Pit of the neck. Little indication of the other clavicle on the other side. Very light indication of the long muscle of the neck. A little on that side too. And no indication of an Adam's apple. Okay, we can just quickly indicate some hair. If you're trying to indicate long, straight hair, you don't have to draw in every single strand. As ever, if you just draw some, the reader will fill in the blanks with their imagination. They sort of see lots of hair, even if you don't draw every single one. Okay, That is our young lady drawn in 3/4 view. I hope you guys have enjoyed this rather challenging lesson on drawing the human head and face. I know I have. Next time we will begin to tackle drawing the human body. So, be well, keep on practicing, and I hope to see you at our next lesson. Bye-bye for now.